Let me then raise that with the BJP leader. You know, Sanjay Kaul, today you have said on the program that Lalit Modi was a fugitive for the last government. I want clarity on this. Are we saying, is the BJP government saying that Lalit Modi is not a fugitive for your government? What has your government done to bring back then Lalit Modi to this country? Surely then he should be extradited, come back to India and face the law of this land. Let's get clarity on this issue. Let's not now get caught in defenses that are rapidly crumbling, Mr. Sanjay Kaul, because the real question is, what was it that provoked Sushma Swaraj to give this special favor to Lalit Modi?
Yeah, and the answer to that last bit is that you have absolutely no shred of evidence to suggest anything did. So I think we'll begin from the beginning, which is that this is not about Mr. Lalit Modi. If it is a different argument. Ms. Swaraj merely indicated to the British government that there would be no danger to bilateral ties if on humanitarian grounds he was allowed to go. Let's paraphrase that and let's come back to what you're asking now. Here's what I'm trying to say.
There's a procedure. Mr. K.C. Singh has very elaborately described the procedure in such cases. She did not follow that procedure. So obviously, there was some reason, some haste that prompted her to do this. And as I said, it comes a day after a mail which is sent by Lalit Modi to his colleagues, including Sushma Swaraj's daughter, that Keith Vaz has kindly used his good offices to push as much as he can. Why are you not extraditing?
Perfectly natural. For
and why are you not extraditing Lalit Modi? If he's not a fugitive, extradite him. Let's have him here in India and subject him to trial. And if you say that he has dope on the Congress, let that be exposed also.
Indeed, indeed. And in fact, that question could have been asked to the UPA also. But now that you're asking us, let me put it like this. We have still to establish whether he's a fugitive of law or whether he was a fugitive of the UPA government. And naturally, that takes time. So when we get to that,
Sanjay,
and as we get to that, we will take care of that. So here's what I'm trying to say.
Does your finance ministry want to drop all the cases against Lalit Modi? Does your finance ministry approve of what Sushma Swaraj has done? Does your finance minister approve of what Sushma Swaraj did? Yes or no? Does your finance minister, sir, approve, Arun Jaitley Arun Jaitley, who was targeted by Lalit Modi in a series of tweets through 2012-2013, does he approve of Sushma Swaraj's action in granting Lalit Modi a temporary passport, yes or no?
Your attempts to make it a personal slugfest are not accepted.
It's not a personal slugfest.
What I'm trying to say is that this government moves in tandem, it is integrated, all decisions are supported and backed all through the way. So we stand by what Ms. Sushma Swaraj did, and we completely guarantee that there is no evidence of quid pro quo. You don't have it, nobody has it.
You know, you keep saying there is no evidence of a quid pro quo, and I keep hinting and showing you all these documents involving Mr. Kaushal, who is the husband of Sushma Swaraj, and I keep referring to the fact that her daughter, who is a talented lawyer from all indications, who is a defense counsel for part of the defense team of Lalit Modi. Now, once you're a minister, then you're expected to observe a certain propriety. And I think that's what it's coming to, isn't it, K.C. Singh and Sanjay? That there's a propriety as a minister which you perhaps need not observe as a private citizen.
I want to just pose a simple question.
Yes.
That if it was the determination of the External Affairs Minister that there is no case, they could have just quickly spoken to finance, asked them to give a clarification on that and issued a regular passport. Why go to the British to get a document issued? The reason she went to the British is obviously an implication that she realized there's going to be a resistance within the Indian system.
That's right. The finance minister, Arun Jaitley, who has no love lost for Lalit Modi, particularly in the context of cricket politics, had perhaps made it more than clear that he was not going to oblige Lalit Modi, but yes.
There's the other point on conflict of interest.
Yes.
You see, this often happens when you have lawyer relatives. You must remember that in the UPA government, Mrs. Chidambaram caused some problem for Mr. Chidambaram when she appeared for certain people who were being targeted by the finance ministry. Similarly, here was the External Affairs Ministry taking on this issue of the passport. And you have the External Affairs Minister's daughter appearing for the person who wanted his passport back. Now, even if the External Affairs Minister wanted to take a decision, an independent decision, to give back the passport, she possibly may have held back because there was this conflict already brewing up. So the point here is that we really need to be very careful about conflict of interest situations.
And clearly in this issue, these conflict of interest situations seem to be emerging because in India we've seen in the past, people have tended to take conflict for interest for granted. One BJP leader told me off the record, Javed, and I want to understand from you that Sushma Swaraj had just become External Affairs Minister. That this case happened within 8 weeks of her becoming external minister. So maybe she was raw, she didn't know, that there could be these questions that could emerge.
Rajdeep, the law makes no allowances for whether you've been external affairs minister for 8 years or 8 weeks.
No, secondly,
for 8
there's a
days.
system supporting you. That's where the institutional memory of the system comes in. That's why you don't adopt extraordinary procedures.
Should she have asked the foreign, let's be clear, should she have asked the Indian High Commission about it?
No,
should she have spoken? You've got a former foreign secretary who's our High Commissioner in Britain. Should she have spoken to the foreign secretary here? Was it necessary? Or
High Commission should have been kept in the loop. They must know what their minister is doing.
And we don't know. One of the big questions I've raised is, was the Indian High Commission kept in the loop or not? We don't know at the moment. Was this decision taken by Sushma Swaraj without even consulting the Indian High Commission in London, where, remember, Ranjan Matthews is the former foreign secretary who's at the moment India's High Commissioner there. So several questions. Just one final break and I'll get final comments. Where does this story now go? Will the RSS and the BJP dig its heels in, or is this the first controversy that could see Narendra Modi having to sacrifice one of his key ministers? Where does the story of Sushma Swaraj and her alleged benefits to Lalit Modi now really go? Will she have to resign, or is this simply a storm in the teacup? That's our final segment, and let's just get final comments. And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Keswan, because the Congress today has asked for the resignation of Sushma Swaraj, and I can see you're scenting blood because you would like to do to the NDA what they did to the UPA. Is this going to sustain, or do you believe that you've made your point and now it's up to Mr. Modi to decide whether he wants Sushma to stay or not?
Rajdeep, this is not about partisan politics. This is about national interest, and you're talking about a foreign minister of a country. Please go back to what the BJP has said. The BJP talked about bringing back black money, and here is a serial offender. He's been wanted by the ED for money laundering and FEMA violation of 700 crores. And the RSS says helping this man is being nationalistic, and the BJP says helping this person is humanitarian. What kind of an indefensible defense is this for the BJP? I think it's very, very clear. And you talked about quid pro quo. We didn't address that. The letter you've shown, there is
please answer my question. You will continue. You will continue to press for resignation. You will continue to press for resignation.
Why? Because of no. The question is simple. Because of these purported quid pro quos which have come out, there is no clarity on them. But the clarity is there that she's spoken to a person who's a fugitive and interfered in a way which is usually not done. So I think there needs to be a probe, and if there needs to be a fair probe, the Prime Minister ought to instruct the External Affairs Minister to step down.
Can we
only then we can have a fair probe, and only then things will clear.
Can we expect Sanjay Kaul, Mr. Narendra Modi, to speak either in defense or seek the resignation of his External Affairs Minister? Will Mr. Modi clarify where he stands, or is he leaving it to the Amit Shahs and the Rajnath Singhs to really to move on the front foot here?
What are you trying to suggest, Rajdeep? That was almost derogatory what you said.
No, I'm asking. What am I saying? Please, I am asking whether the Prime Minister of the country, the Chief Executive, the head of the Cabinet Minister of the Cabinet system will defend or choose to distance himself from one of his key ministers. What is Mr. Modi? Can we expect Mr. Modi to respond? Or is Mr. Modi gauging the public mood before deciding what to do?
No, neither of this will happen. This will go away by sunrise. Let me assure you. Yesterday I spoke about Congress in a clip, and I said to them in Hindi that Congress, let me assure you.
Every newspaper will have this as the first headline tomorrow morning, sir. Every newspaper will have this story as the first headline. This is not going away at sunrise.
Triumph of hope over
by sundown then. I stand corrected by sundown then.
Okay.
Let me assure you that yesterday I quipped that the Congress is hungry for issues, and in Hindi I said, वो मुद्दे की तलाश में भटकी हुई आत्मा की तरह घूम रहे हैं. To you I say, that ghosts only come to those that look for them. Is til mein tel nahi hai. This will yield nothing. And I'm saying that the limited role that that Sushma Swaraj played will be of no consequence in the larger scheme of things. I urge you to focus on the things that are being done by this government to move forward. This distraction is completely unnecessary.
Sir, I am more than happy to look at all the positives of the government, but on a day when there is a scandal, I expect the government to be, to tell us where they stand specifically, and I haven't heard today from the Prime Minister of the country. Javed, is there a deeper meaning in that? Do you expect Narendra Modi to come out in strong defense of Sushma Swaraj, or was he waiting for the others to do it, gauging the mood, and then deciding what he must do next? What is your belief? What will Mr. Modi do?
Look, Mr. Modi will bide his time, but I certainly believe that the last has not been heard. The last word has not been said on this. Don't forget that there is an inquiry currently on. The British Parliament is inquiring into this. And as far as was Mr. Sanjay Kaul said that it will be over by sundown, this is a case of triumph of hope over reality.
Sanjay Hegde, do you believe that based on the facts as they are provided today, is it fair for parties to ask for Sushma Swaraj's resignation, given the defense that she has provided, humanitarian grounds, the fact that no special favors were done? How do you see this playing out now?
Well, it's all
from a legal perspective. Can Sushma Swaraj turn around and say, please show me where is the illegality? My husband has been a counsel for Lalit Modi for years. My daughter has been a counsel for Lalit Modi for years. She is a good lawyer. Should she therefore have to bear the brunt or the odor of the fact that my mother is the External Affairs Minister and conflicts of interest emerge?
That's exactly what conflicts of interest are. And that is why when you are in government, you draw a very strict Lakshman Rekha about what can be done and what cannot be done. If you violate the Lakshman Rekha, then you end up with an Agni Pariksha.
That's a good point. If you violate the Lakshman Rekha, you end up with an Agni Pariksha. Conflict of interest, is that at the heart of this controversy now?
No, I think at the heart of the controversy is he a fugitive according to this government or not? One part of the government seems to think he's not. Another part of the government seems to think he is. A government has to have one view to a fugitive. You can't have a dichotomy of views. If he's
are you saying that
if he's a fugitive, let me say,
yes.
if he's a fugitive and there are extant orders and red corner notices and other kind of corner notices, then the External Affairs Minister had no business to go behind the government and connive with a foreign government to allow him to travel. Okay. If he is not a fugitive, then for God's sake, why are you doing it anyway? You had the power to grant him a passport.
Right.
So withdraw your order and grant a passport. I am only going by the conduct.
Okay. And that's what we are going back. We don't want to pronounce judgments here. I know that news channels and news anchors in stories like this are often accused of playing judge, jury and prosecutor. We will continue to search for the facts. And at the end of those facts, if those facts are such that Sushma Swaraj is asked to resign, then that decision is taken by the Prime Minister of the country, not by Rajdeep, Sardesai, Javed Ansari or any of my panelists. We will leave it now to the Prime Minister and Sushma Swaraj to decide on the basis of the facts that are in the public domain, whether they believe there's a conflict of interest, whether they believe there's been an impropriety or an illegality committed. Is this the end of the story? Is this a story that will disappear at sundown, as the BJP spokesperson tells us? I rather think not. Good night. Goodbye.